My best fragrance pickups in the month of September. Hey guys, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman, and it's time for your dose of some fragrance content. And since we've already gone through the month of September, it's also time for me to cover my whole month of September when it comes to fragrance purchases. I like to do these videos at the end of each month or at the beginning of the following month, so I can cover pretty much what I've gone through when it comes to fragrance pickups and all that stuff. Now, usually in these types of videos I include only those fragrances that I consider to be, personally for me, my best pickups. Today's video will include a total of 10 fragrances, but 2 of them will be more like honorable mentions rather than anything else, because I personally don't enjoy them that much or don't consider them to be like super nice pickups, but I know that some people out there like them, so I'm going to include them like honorable mentions, and I'm going to start with them. The first one comes from the brand of Lattafa, and it's called Fakhar Platin, and this fragrance I covered in my first impressions. I did a full review of this one as well, and overall I wasn't really that impressed by this fragrance, mainly because it felt super synthetic, especially in the opening. This, for those who don't know, is a clone of YSL Y Elixir, but it's a clone with a heavy fruity twist that has the note of guava included, and that guava note personally for me ruins the experience with this fragrance. But then when I saw the comments beneath the videos on my first impressions and my full review, I saw that there are a lot of people who actually enjoy this fragrance, and probably I would have enjoyed it too if it didn't feel so synthetic. But still, because of those people, because I don't really want to make them mad, I'm going to include this as an honorable mention. If you if you have this fragrance, or if you have tried it and you enjoy it, then all power to you. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about that. Personally, for me, it was not my thing. The other one comes from the brand of Gulf Orchid, and it's called Sweet Heaven Tobacco, and this is going to be included as a honorable mention, not because this is a bad fragrance per se, but because I expected this one to smell a little bit different than it actually turned out to smell. Basically, this is like taking the Hamra scent DNA and adding maybe a little bit more spiciness, toning down a little bit the sweetness, and adding a subtle amount of tobacco. And that subtle amount of tobacco is actually why I don't consider this to be like a super good pickup for me, because I was expecting this one to have more tobacco in it than it actually had. I would have probably enjoyed it more if it had a stronger tobacco note. Because of that, I'm going to include it as an honorable mention, but it's not a bad fragrance. Again, if you like the Hammer DNA, if that's the if that twist on that original scent profile sounds interesting to you, toning down a little bit the sweetness, adding just a little bit more spiciness, and adding just a subtle amount of tobacco note, then check this one out, because this has pretty good performance. Good projection and all that, and it's a good fragrance for the cold weather. Platin also, in my experience, has a pretty good performance as well. Now let's start with the actual list that of fragrances that I consider to be good or great pickups for me personally throughout this past month of September. The first one comes from the brand of Paris Corner, and it's called Rayhaan Wild Mineral. Now, I still have not done my full review on this one. I have to do it at some point in time. Maybe next week, maybe not. This is an interesting clone with a heavy twist of Valentino Uomo, born in Roma. But this is like a sweeter and a more aquatic take on that original scent profile. Basically taking that already very popular, very well liked, very versatile scent profile, adding more sweetness to it, adding a touch of an aquaticness, changing it up quite a bit, so I cannot call this a direct clone, but something that's done in a similar style, and I've been enjoying this one. Now, it feels a little bit synthetic, and it's a little bit more youthful thanks to that added sweetness that this one has compared to the original fragrance, but still it's a very nice little fragrance, very versatile masculine fragrance that especially younger guys will probably enjoy wearing quite a lot. It offers high versatility, it offers decent quality, it offers good performance, especially initially this projects quite loudly as well, and it's cheap, so basically a no-brainer if you like that original scent profile and don't mind a little bit more sweetness and a hint of aquaticness. The next one I've been really enjoying a lot. It comes from the brand of Fragrance World, and it's called Notes Jazz. I really love the detail on the bottle of this one, although it's a bit tacky, I just like it a lot. This is a clone of Silky Woods from Goldfield and Banks. and I absolutely love this fragrance. It's a great cozy fragrance for the current cold weather, autumn cold weather that I'm living under at the moment. It just smells absolutely fantastic. It's spicy. There's a bit of leather with this one, there's a lot of sweetness, there's a nice amount of tobacco, maybe even a hint of booziness with this. Just overall smells super nice. In my opinion, this is a perfectly unisex scent that's just great for cold weather, especially for nighttime usage. There's a bit of muskiness on the dry down as well. It just smells super nice. Probably the only problem with this fragrance is the fact that it's not a great performer. Its total longevity on skin is pretty good. I've been getting about 7 hours of performance, maybe even slightly over the 7-hour mark. Where this lacks a little bit is the projection. It sits a little bit closer to the skin. But as I said in my full review of this fragrance, this probably in a way complements the scent profile of this one. I just don't imagine someone smelling like this and smelling super loud, you know, projecting super loud. This is something that's more for personal enjoyment or for people who are near you, very closely near you, but this smells absolutely great and I love it. Notes Jazz from Fragrance World. The next two that I'm going to show you come from the brand of Zimaya. I talked about my first impressions on those two, I think about 10 days ago. Again, I've not covered them yet in their full dedicated review, but I consider both of them to be quite good. They come from the same line, which is called Abadi, and they're called Abadi Opulent. This is the right way to show the bottle. Abadi Opulent and Abadi Saga. Now, Abadi Opulent smells pretty similar to Lattafa Fakhar Platin, because this is another clone, yet another clone of YSL Y Elixir. But this is done, in my opinion, a lot better. First of all, this mimics copies the original scent a lot better. It sits a lot closer scent-wise to the original compared to Fakhar Platin, because Zimaya or Afnan, which is the parent company of Zimaya, haven't done any twists or anything like that. They've simply copied the scent profile, tried to make it as close as possible. And second, because this smells of higher quality. Although the price point of both fragrances is pretty similar, for me the one from Zimaya actually smells of a lot higher quality. There's no really anything such synthetic as you'll find with the Lattafa. So this is fresh, this is masculine, this is versatile. On the dry down you'll get some a little bit introduced to a little bit darkness, a little bit of darkness. There's an agar oud note. It's overall a very nice fragrance that you can wear for pretty much any type of occasion. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, it's your choice. Good quality, and so far seems to have a pretty decent performance. The other one, Abadi Saga, is the one that I actually have been enjoying a little bit more, but I've said this a few times already in the past few weeks. This is a clone of Creed Aventus Absolute, and for some reason I've rediscovered the scent of Aventus Absolute, and nowadays I'm enjoying more and more the clones of Creed Aventus Absolute. But this, unlike Abadi Opulent, is not a direct clone. It's not a one-to-one clone. This feels more like an inspiration, because this takes the Creed Aventus Absolute scent profile but makes it a little bit fresher, in my opinion. It's slightly less dark and less sweet on the dry down. The opening is a little bit fresher and even kind of feels a little bit soapy in a way, and it smells like another fragrance from the brand of Zimaya, which is called Sharaf the Club, which is again done in a similar style like Creed Aventus and Creed Aventus Absolute, but that one is fresher. This one is a little bit darker, but not as dark as Aventus Absolute itself. But it's a very versatile fragrance that just works great in throughout the year pretty much. Although I think the best time to wear something like this is exactly the fall time. It has good quality and pretty decent performance. The next two that I'm about to show you come from the brand of Lattafa, and actually I did my full review on both yesterday. They were my latest two Lattafa pickups. They're called Habik for Men and Dynasty. Habik for Men is an interesting clone with a bit of a twist of a nice discontinued fragrance from the brand of Jean Paul Gaultier, which is called Le Mot Essence de Parfum, and it was a very nice mix of some spices, some cardamom, lavender, suede leather, a bit of spiciness, and vanilla. Basically that's how the original one used to smell, and still smells if you own a bottle of the original one, but it's discontinued. It's very hard to find, very expensive. But now we have a second clone. The first one came from the brand of Fragrance World and it's called Posh Omega. This new one is called Habik for Men from Lattafa. And this smells pretty similar to Essence de Parfum, but it's not a direct clone for me. This smells warmer, this smells more spicy, slightly less sweet and less leathery than the original fragrance, but in the air gives off a strong Essence de Parfum vibes if you're after something like that. I really like the original fragrance, and I think it's a shame that's been discontinued and hard to find. But again, as I said, luckily enough, we now already have two very decent clones of that original fragrance. Nice quality, performance is good, total longevity is pretty good. Where this lacks a little bit is the projection, again sits a little bit closer to the skin. This next one, Lattafa Dynasty, I've been actually enjoying a lot. This was a bit of a nice surprise for me personally. This one is supposedly a clone of a Clive Christian fragrance that I've never tried, but this to me, especially in the opening, also gives off a bit of imagination vibes, because this has a strong floral note, there's a tea note in this one, it has some freshness, some citrusy freshness. It has a bit of a ginger note, in fact not a bit but quite a strong ginger note, which adds a bit of warmth, and overall the opening kind of reminds me a lot of Imagination without being a clone of Imagination. The dry down becomes woody, a little bit sweet, and musky, feels slightly sort of dry and slightly powdery. And this is a very versatile fragrance in my opinion, a masculine scent that probably some girls can pull this one off if they like such type of scents. And I really enjoy this one for the versatility that it offers, because this can be worn pretty much throughout the year. Nice quality and good performance. This was a better performer in my experience than, let's say, Habik. This has a bit of a mature factor, keep that in mind. I think smells a little bit more on the mature side, but I kind of like it a lot. I'm going to finish off with two fragrances from the brand of French Avenue. They're called Firestorm and Thunder. Now, Firestorm is a clone of a Penhaligon's fragrance that's called The World According to Arthur. And this is an interesting scent that I've changed my opinion on quite a bit compared to the first time that I got this fragrance. Initially I wasn't that big of a fan, but nowadays I'm actually enjoying it more and more. This is sweet, spicy, fruity, with a bit of an sort of a balsamic thing going on, with a bit of a floral touch and quite a bit of a sweetness on the dry down. It also feels kind of woody on the and powdery on its deep dry down. And in a way, this also reminds me, especially in the opening, of some of the Memo fragrances that I've tried. It's I wouldn't call it exactly a safe blind buy, but if you enjoy these types of scents that are warm, spicy, but at the same time quite sweet, and that work great in cold weather, then this one is probably worth checking out. But keep in mind that, in my opinion, you should try to sample this one. The other one is called Thunder, and this one is a clone of Mr. Thompson, the omniscient Mr. Thompson from Penhaligon's. Both original fragrances I've never tried, but this one smells a lot similar to other great fragrances that I personally have a lot of experience with. And those fragrances are Dior Homme Intense, Valentino Uomo Intense, Givenchy Gentleman, EDP. Because this has a strong iris note, it's a little bit different than those fragrances, because this has a strong vanilla note, and in a way it reminds me of Valentino Uomo Intense, but without the leather note in Valentino Uomo Intense. And this feels kind of, in a way, watery, or I don't know exactly how to, not exactly aquatic, but the iris note doesn't come off dry and super powdery. It has this sort of a wet feeling to it for some reason, but I've been enjoying it a lot because it has a strong iris note, and I love those fragrances. Very nice, smells clean, smells a little bit mature, smells dressed up, and overall I've really digged this one quite a lot. Performance in my experience has been pretty solid when it comes to longevity. The projection is a little bit more on the subtle side, but I think that's okay because of its scent profile, and overall this was a great pickup for me. And so guys, in today's video I showed you what I consider to be my best fragrance pickups in the month of September, plus a few honorable mentions. I hope that you found today's video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in my next video for your dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.